Okay. Waterloo Counseling Center has always served the HIV positive population. That's kind of part of the people that we saw when we began, and we've continued to do that for the last 25 years. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we began meeting with all the other service organizations that serve the HIV positive, looking for what's not happening, what do the people need that they're not getting. And we realized that many people said, I want counseling, but they weren't availing themselves of the services that were being offered either by us or some of the other agencies that provide that. As we talked about that, some of the directors said, well, we think perhaps they would be more comfortable in the places that are already comfortable, whether that be where they receive their case management or their medical or whatever. So we thought, well, maybe we can do that, and in fact have been funded for doing that, and began, I think in April, going out into other organizations, other counties, and serving that underserved population of the HIV positive. As we began doing that, my therapist came back with some very, I think, heart-wrenching stories. One of the first ones that was told to me was about a young man who had been diagnosed 20 years ago as being HIV positive, had been getting his medication and that sort of thing from a medical provider in the community, had never availed himself of any counseling. In fact, there had not really been any counseling available because it was an outlying county. And he told his therapist early on in the therapy process that she was the first person he had actually been able to talk about his feelings with, and to be able to share that secret, that stigmatizing secret about being HIV positive. He lived with his parents and had for some time. He had never told them that he was HIV positive. He had brothers and sisters that he saw on a regular basis, and he had never told them that he was HIV positive. He would endure Sunday dinners where one of them would say things like, that HIV positive, I could never even be around someone who had that because I'd be afraid of catching it. And so, of course, that just told him he had to keep his mouth shut. But he was able to begin to share those kinds of feelings with his therapist, and it took us getting up and getting outside of the office for us to be able to reach some of those folks that really needed the counseling.
Whenever you're ready.
Waterloo has made several leaps forward in the last year, and we propose that we go on doing that. But I think the thing that jump-started us was that St. David's hosted a strategic management retreat in August through early September of last year. It was a weekend retreat, and I attended with one of our board members. In that retreat, they had folks in from RGK as well as Harvard who taught us about nonprofit strategies. The pieces that we picked up there had to do with being more planful, developing a very clear model of where we wanted to go. And we developed there a balanced scorecard and a logic model. RGK came and consulted with us after the retreat to help us do that. We used that scorecard and model to help us develop milestones for the year. Some of those milestones included diversifying our funding. We did not have any government grants. We had a very small amount of private foundation grant. We also wanted to have more staff because at that time, myself and one other person were the staff people at Waterloo. So another milestone was to have at least 5 people on staff by the end of the year. As we were in the process of that, I had already been meeting with some of the other AIDS service organizations and realizing that collaboration was powerful. At the strategic management retreat, I again realized how powerful it was to collaborate. I went to other people that had counseling agencies, and we talked about how we did different things, and so I began to really see the power in that. And so as we wrote proposals, we talked about collaboration with other agencies. We talked about going to those agencies, and I had to have all of those kind of plans in process so that we could tell funders, yes, it is possible and we will do this. And so we worked with those organizations and we began going out into the community, getting out of the office to provide counseling and going to those other partner agencies. And as we go forward, I just see it compounding and going on. We do, at this point, by the way, have 6 people on staff at Waterloo as a result of our strategic plan, our logic model, and our balanced scorecards. And I believe that with this kind of in our repertoire of how we do business, we will continue to grow, we will continue to collaborate with other agencies in the community and continue to not only survive as a nonprofit, but thrive.